accounting entry. It is nothing to do with the income of the company. So these are the three adjustments to clean the P&L account. Then to check the tax planning, I explained in detail in the last class that whenever revaluation reserve, company creates revaluation reserve, and at the time of sale of the asset, company doesn't transfer it into the P&L account, then up to that extent, profit on the sale of assets is not taxed as per the MAT provision. So that's why we need to increase our book profit by the amount of revaluation reserve which is standing on the date of the sale of the assets. If it is already credited by the company, then we will do nothing. But if it is not credited by the company because company need to pay MAT tax on this, then we need to add back in book profit. So these are the all adjustments which need to be made in respect of depreciations. Then in respect of reserve, provision and dividend, reserve I discussed in the last class. That reserve is just a book entry to transfer one amount from one box to another box. And provisions, if they are for a certain liabilities, then of course it will be allowable. However, if it is just a bookish entry and not make for any certain liability, then it will not be allowed. So what we will do for reserve and dividend, all reserve and dividend debited in P&L shall be added back. And if any reserve credited in P&L account, then we will deduct it from the book profit. Same with the provision will be added back, except the provisions which are made for a certain liability. Like I discussed that if gratuity provision is made on the basis of actuarial valuation, then it will be allowable. It means allowable means we need not to add back in book profit. Then in respect of exempt or lower rate income, there are 4 types of income. Either they are fully exempt or they are taxable at the reduced rate. Like income exempt under section 10, income exempt under section 11 and 12, charitable trust income. However, we need to take care that 10AA is not covered here. 10AA is not covered here means we will not reduce any profit from the book profit on account of 10AA. If there is a P&L account in which 10AA SEZ unit profit is there, then we have to pay MAT on that. We will not reduce that amount, because basic purpose of MAT is only to avoid the deduction and major exemption profit linked deduction available to the company. So 10AA is profit linked deduction. So in the MAT, we will not reduce it if it is credited in the P&L account. If other exempt income are there, section 10, 11, 12, we will of course reduce it from the P&L account, because we will not take tax on that. Then AOP share, if received as per section 86, that is exempt in the hands of the company. So we will reduce from here also. Then 2 lower rate income. One is for resident company under section 115 BBF. If some patent royalty income are there to resident company, then it will be deducted from the book profit and will be taxed at the reduced rate. First 2 income will not be taxed at all because they are exempt. The third and fourth will be reduced from the book profit, however will be taxed at the specific rate applicable given in these sections. Foreign company income of lower rate, like capital gain on securities, interest, technical fees, royalty, etc. So if foreign company has any such type of incomes, this is also taxed at lower rate. So we will reduce from the book profit and will tax at a lower rate. So ये 4 तरह की इनकम है. 2 इनकम एग्जेम्प्ट होने की वजह से, 2 इनकम लोअर रेट की वजह से हम लोगों को बुक प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करते हुए वहां से माइनस करनी पड़ेगी. हम उसमें दोबारा से टैक्स नहीं लेंगे. Then there was an adjustment for income tax and deferred tax. Income tax and deferred tax both are of same nature, and book profit says that we will not allow deduction of income tax. So whenever you see that income tax or deferred tax had been debited in the P&L account, you just deduct the amount of income tax deferred tax from the while calculating the book profit. And on the other side, if deferred tax is credited in the P&L account because some deferred tax assets were made in that particular year, then you will deduct the book profit. Because once the expenses is not allowed, there is no question to tax the deferred tax income. फिर हम लोगों ने स्टडी किया था कि इनकम टैक्स इंक्लूड्स इनकम टैक्स का इंटरेस्ट, इनकम टैक्स का सरचार्ज, एजुकेशन सेस, डीडीटी. These all will be treated income tax. What does it mean? It means that this will also be added back while calculating the book profit if the same has been debited in the P&L account. अगर ये इंटरेस्ट ऑन इनकम टैक्स, सरचार्ज, एजुकेशन सेस, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स भी P&L अकाउंट में डेबिट है, तो इसको भी लाइक इनकम टैक्स की तरह हमें एड बैक करना पड़ेगा while calculating profit because same is treated as income tax. However, security transaction tax, penalty in any law, wealth tax will not be treated as income tax. What does it mean? It means कि अगर आपका ये सब चीजें माइनस है, P&L अकाउंट में डेबिट है, तो वी विल नॉट डू एनी एडजस्टमेंट फॉर दैट. तो यहाँ पे मैंने एक क्वेश्चन भी पूछा था इन रिगार्ड टू पेनल्टी, that under normal provisions of the act, penalty is not allowed. However, penalty, because it is not treated as income tax or it is not specifically covered in any other clause, so penalty will be available as a deduction while computing the book profit under MAT. Because here we are just calculating the commercial profit. So commercial profit calculate करते समय जो genuine deduction है वो आपको, जो genuine adjustment है वो आपको करनी है, उसके अलावा आपको इसमें कोई भी adjustment. So up to fourth adjustment, if there is any doubt, so we can take. Otherwise, I am coming on the fifth one, last one. किसी को doubt है fourth तक?
No sir, clear.
Sir, exempt or lower rate income वो
lower rate income and exempt income we are reducing from while calculating book profit. Suppose our book मैं white board पे आपको समझाता हूँ एक मिनट. ये व्हाइट बोर्ड विजिबल है ना सबको?
Yes sir.
Yes.
So what exactly we are doing? There is a P&L account of a company, P&L account of A Limited, in which some sale is there, some other income is there. Other income may be of exempt income or maybe of lower rate income. What is exempt income? Just for the time being, I am presuming that dividend is exempt in the hands of company. Suppose there is some dividend income, dividend की income है company को, या फिर जो lower rate से tax होती है, like कोई royalty, fees for technical fees, services etc. ये रॉयल्टी एक्सेट्रा जो आएगा वो फॉरेन कंपनी, तो हमें ए लिमिटेड को फॉरेन कंपनी मानना पड़ेगा. अदरवाइज हम ये मान सकते हैं कि 150 देयर इज इनकम ऑफ अंडर सेक्शन 115 BBF. So this is income for resident company. So this is also taxed at lower rate. So what the MAT adjustment is saying, that you take first the net profit as per P&L account. Suppose 1,000 rupees is your net amount. So you take first this 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees will be starting point while calculating book profit under MAT. 1,000 will be my starting point. Now I will make some plus and some minus. as per the adjustment shown in my presentation. So one of the adjustment is there that whatever exempt income is there in your P&L account or whatever lower rate income is there in your P&L account, we will not take MAT tax on that. So MAT tax अगर उस पर नहीं लेना है तो इस 1000 रुपीज में वो इंक्लूड है, तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? We need to deduct exempt income as well as lower rate income. Suppose 400 रुपीज की ये दोनों का टोटल है 400 rupees. Then while calculating book profit, we have to reduce 400 rupees and my final book profit will be 600. 600 के ऊपर मेरा at the rate of 15% I will calculate my MAT tax. अगर ये मेरा MAT tax normal tax से higher हुआ, then it will be my total income और ये इतना tax मेरे को देना पड़ेगा. If it will be lower, तो फिर जो normal provision का tax है वो दूंगा मैं. नॉर्मल प्रोविजन टैक्स. सो बेसिकली ये लास्ट का एक कंपैरिजन हमें देखना है, विच एवर हायर टैक्स. उस पूरे कंपैरिजन को देखने के लिए फर्स्ट वी नीड टू कैलकुलेट बुक प्रॉफिट. बुक प्रॉफिट को कैलकुलेट करने के लिए हमें सारे एडजस्टमेंट, जो 5 तरह के एडजस्टमेंट मैंने वहां पे मेंशन किए हैं, वो सब करने हैं. उन 5 तरह के एडजस्टमेंट, वन ऑफ द एडजस्टमेंट इज दैट कोई भी आपकी एग्जाम्प्ट इनकम हो, कोई भी आपकी लोअर रेट इनकम हो, अगर वो क्रेडिट साइड में है, देन आपको इफेक्ट खत्म करना है. यू नीड टू नलिफाई द इफेक्ट. सो व्हाट विल यू डू दैट इफ इट इज इन द क्रेडिट साइड, तो यू विल रिड्यूस फ्रॉम द योर नेट प्रॉफिट. इफ इट इज इन द डेबिट साइड, कोई खर्चा इस इनकम से रिलेटेड, तो आप इसको खर्चा, क्योंकि ये यहाँ से लेस हो गया, तो आप इसको उठा के एड बैक कर दोगे, जिससे कि इनका इफेक्ट नलिफाई हो जाए और जो हमारा मैट आए उसको नलिफाई करने के बाद. Hope now it is clear.
If it is a net loss.
Sorry. Any doubts?
Clear, sir.
Clear. Okay.
If it is a net loss.
In the sorry, I'm not getting you.
सर अगर नेट लॉस है तो क्या है, ये इनका सवाल है.
Okay, net loss है. Okay. Suppose there is a one P&L account and there is some expenses, there are few income, and the final result of your P&L account is net loss. So in that case, you make all the adjustment. You will take first point as a net loss. Suppose net loss is 1000 rupees. 1000 rupees. You will make all the adjustment. It may happen that some 2000 rupees exempt income are there. 2000 rupees exempt income are there, and 5000 rupees expenses on these exempt income are there. So you will make the same adjustment. You will forget that there is loss or net figure is loss or profit. You add whatever the adjustment you say to add, और जो भी आपको लेस करने के लिए एडजस्टमेंट बोलता है, you will deduct that. So exempt income we need to deduct 2000 rupees. We will deduct 5000 rupees. We will add back. So what will be the net result? Net result will be 5000 minus 3000. It will be 2000 my book profit. So you will make an adjustment in the same manner, whether it is profit or whether it is loss. You will see the last result. Last result is profit, then 15% tax will be calculated. If still last result will be loss, then no need to calculate any MAT tax. So you need to compare the last result. Last result को आपको compare करना है कि last result आपका normal provision में जो आपने calculate किया है उससे that is higher or lower. अगर higher है then आप as per MAT tax देंगे. If it is lower then you will go by the normal provisions. सो दोनों कैलकुलेशन विल गो पैरेलली दोनों कैलकुलेशन आपकी चलती रहेंगी, इधर मैट की चलेगी, उधर नॉर्मल प्रोविजन के हिसाब से जैसे जैसे आप पढ़ते जाएंगे, डिडक्शन, losses, adjustment, 5 heads, how to compute, how to give PGBP deduction, etc. You will make adjustment as per that, those provisions, and after that you will calculate this result with your net profit, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So the last adjustment is that it will give you the MAT computation will give you a benefit of losses, benefit of your book losses, the losses which happened in the earlier years, but there is a limit to claim that losses. Lower of following limit will be available to you as a deduction for earlier year losses. What is that limit? The amount of brought forward losses or unabsorbed depreciation, whichever is less, as per books of account. So here we need to take care that as per books of account we will calculate losses, and losses will be divided in two parts. One is unabsorbed depreciation, one is brought forward losses. So whichever will be lower will be allowed as a deduction from the MAT computation. So we can understand this through an example given in our study. So this was the example we were doing in the last class. And the last adjustment was pending. What was the illustration? Apple Industry Limited provides the following information for the financial year 1920. Net profit as per statement of P&L account after debiting crediting the following: 120 lakh rupees was the net profit, net result. Proposed dividend 30 lakh. Proposed dividend was 30 lakh. Profit from unit established in SEZ 20 lakh. Provision for income tax 18 lakh. Provision for deferred tax 10 lakh. Provision for permanent diminution in the value of investment 3 lakh. Depreciation debited to statement of profit and loss 10 lakh. Include depreciation on revaluation of assets to the tune of rupees 1 lakh. So 10 lakh was the depreciation, total depreciation. 1 lakh depreciation relates to revaluation of assets. So only 9 lakh will be allowable to us. So in the last class, we studied that 9 lakh will be deductible as depreciation and 10 lakh will be added back. Because first, what the adjustment of depreciation says that first of all, you add back entire depreciation, then only or depreciation allowable on original cost of the assets, that is 9 lakh, and for the remaining only we need to we will not make any adjustment for this profit from unit established in SEZ 20 lakh rupees. 20 lakh rupees we will not make any adjustments because we just studied that SEZ on SEZ profit, MAT tax will be payable. Government will take MAT tax on the SEZ profit. So there no need to make adjustment of SEZ profit, except that all adjustment need to be made, out of which proposed dividend is 30 lakh rupees. 30 lakh rupees, if any dividend is debited in P&L account, then it will be added back. 30 lakh will be added back. Then the next one is provision for income tax. If income tax is debited in P&L account 18 lakh rupees, then it will be added back while calculating book profit. Provision for deferred tax Deferred tax will be treated same as per Income Tax Act. So sorry, income tax. So 10 lakh will also be added back. Provision for permanent diminution in the value of investment. दिस वी स्टडीड कि कोई भी एसेट्स के ऊपर अगर कोई प्रोविजन हो रहा है उसकी उसकी वैल्यू में डिमिन्यूएशन ऑफ वैल्यू ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट या किसी एसेट्स की वैल्यू में कम करने के लिए कोई प्रोविजन हो रहा है, दैट विल आल्सो बी एडेड बैक. So provision of 3 lakh will be added back. Now the last adjustment is brought forward losses and unabsorbed depreciation as per books of company are as followed. Brought forward losses as per books of account was 1, 2, 10, 12. Unabsorbed depreciation as per books of account was 4, 1, 5, 5, 5, 10. So as per MAT, whichever will be lower will be allowable as deduction. So 10 will be compared with 12 rupees. So 10 is lower. So lower of brought forward losses and unabsorbed depreciation will be allowable as deduction 10 rupees. So this type of full-fledged question will be asked in the even in the last December 19 exam. The same on the same pattern, one full-fledged question was asked. I think it was of 8 marks. So in the same pattern it will be asked, and the examiner may ask the both income under the normal provision as well as under the MAT provision. So under the MAT provision we will calculate like this. First we will take the net profit, and in net profit we will make adjustment as per the MAT given under section 115 JB. उसके बाद जो भी लास्ट में brought forward losses या unabsorbed depreciation as per books account में जो whichever amount is lower, एक deduction उसका लेके final book profit will be 172 rupees. So on 172 rupees we will calculate tax at the rate of 15%. And plus surcharge and education, applicable surcharge and education cess, and this we will compare with normal tax under the normal provision. Whichever will be higher will be tax liability of the company. Hope now MAT provisions are clear to everyone.
Sir.
Okay. So now few provisions are pending while calculating the business profit, while few adjustments need to be made in normal provisions of the Act. So these are not given in your study. However, in the exam every time they ask this, and some of provision we have already studied like 37 etc. So these notes I'll share after the class. So these are the few adjustments given in 4 pages which we need to take care while calculating the business profit. Business profit आप जब compute करते हो तो इसमें से कोई भी section आपका hit कर सकता है, उसके according you need to make adjustments. So what we have studied in this, that as per section 37 is general deduction. What general deduction says that you are allowable for all expenditure. Any expenditure you can claim in your P&L account, but it should not be specifically given in section 30 to 36. Section 30 to 36 में उस expenditure के बारे में कुछ specifically ना दिया हो. If anything is given in 30 to 36, then you will take allowance of the such type of expenditure as per that section only. Then it should not be of capital nature. Capital nature का कोई भी P&L में खर्चा नहीं होना चाहिए. That it should not be of personal expenses. Personal expenses नहीं होना चाहिए. It should not be of offense which is prohibited by law. It means penalty under the normal provision of the Act is not allowable expenditure. Penalty in MAT is allowable expenditure. MAT के अंदर कोई adjustment नहीं करना penalty का. However, general deduction itself says that no type of penalty is allowable. Then, if company is making any expenditure on CSR responsibility, then also it is not allowable. And last one, as per section 37, if you make any advertisement with the political party, then such expenditure on advertisement will not be allowed. It means if advertisement, brochure, tract, pamphlet, or the like published by a political party and any advertisement expenditure is made with the political party, then it will not be allowable. However, normal advertisement expenses will be allowable. Then we have already studied 40A, 40 capital A, subsection 2. What this section says? This section says that if you make any expenditure, payment of which is made to your relative or to such type of person who has substantial interest in your company, then expenses in excess of fair market value will not be allowable. Then expenses in excess of fair market value will not be allowable. So if director or member of the company is paid for any expenses and that payment is in excess of market value, then the excess will be disallowed to the company. Then in short, we have already discussed this provision, but there is some amendment in this provision, so we need to discuss in detail this 40 capital A3. What is this exactly? 40 capital A3. 40 capital A3 is if you make any expenditure in excess of rupees 10,000 in cash, or you can say expenses in respect of which a payment or aggregate of payment made to a person in a day otherwise than by an account pay check, या तो वो अकाउंट पे चेक से होना चाहिए या अकाउंट पे बैंक ड्राफ्ट से होना चाहिए, और नंबर 3 यूज ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्लियरिंग सिस्टम से होना चाहिए. व्हाट इज द अमेंडमेंट? अमेंडमेंट इज दैट or through such other electronic mode as may be prescribed. Recently in the Income Tax Act, in every section wherever the payment is required to be made through banking channel, this one mode is also this one mode is also inserted. And what this says that through such other electronic mode as may be prescribed. What are those electronic mode? These are those electronic mode. It means wherever the payment is required through banking mode के through आपको जहां भी पेमेंट करनी है उसमें आप क्रेडिट कार्ड का भी यूज कर सकते हैं, डेबिट कार्ड भी यूज कर सकते हैं, नेट बैंकिंग भी यूज कर सकते हैं, IMPS भी यूज कर सकते हैं, UPI भी यूज कर सकते हैं, RTGS भी कर सकते हैं, NEFT भी कर सकते हैं, and one application can also be used, Bheem application can also be used. So these are the 8 mode. If you made your payment through these mode also, then it will be allowable expenditure as per 40A3. However, if expenses will be made in any other mode except the mode given here, then when the expenses amount is in excess of rupees 10,000 to a person in a day, it means एक पर्सन को एक दिन में अगर 10,000 से एक्सीड करता है और अदर देन दिस मोड आप पेमेंट करते हैं, then the entire expenditure will not be allowed to you. So that will be treated as cash expenses और वो टोटल का टोटल आपको डिसअलाउड हो जाएगा. तो if in question in example also in one of the example we see that if any expenses were made in excess of 10,000 other than these mode, then in that example we disallow the entire amount of that expenses. So what we need to take care here in question the examiner can give you the any of the mode: credit card, debit card, net banking, IMPS, UPI, RTGS, NEFT. So if payment is made through these electronic mode, then it is allowable. However, if it is made other than these mode, then the entire amount will be disallowable. However, there are few exceptions also of this cash payment rule. There are various exceptions. However, the important exceptions are that whenever where the payment is made for the purchase of agriculture or forest produce, the produce of animal husbandry, fish or fish products, or the products of horticulture and agriculture, and to whom you will make this payment? You will make this payment to cultivator, grower, or producer of such article, produce or product. So if in questions it is given that cash payment of rupees 65,000 was made for purchasing raw material, which is agriculture produce, or for purchasing fish and fish products, then it, irrespective of the fact that it is made in cash, it will be allowable because it is one of the exception of the cash payment rule. So these are the exception of the cash payment rule. One of the important exception is whenever you make any payment to cultivator, to grower, to producer, for what? For agriculture produce, for fish products, for horticulture or agriculture products, then it will be allowable irrespective of the fact that it is made other than these mode. So एक आपको ये adjustment आपको याद रखना है. Then एक आपको, this is also important, where the payment is made in a village or town, which is on the date of such payment is not served by any bank to any person who ordinarily reside or is carrying on any business, profession or vocation in any such village or town. उस village और town में उसका profession है और उस दिन जब आप गए हो तो such payment is not served by any bank which on the date जिस दिन आपने payment की है उस डेट पे बैंक की फैसिलिटी नहीं थी, तो देन इन दैट केस यू कैन मेक दैट पेमेंट इन कैश. One most important for this exam, actually this was the exception applicable till 29th January 2020. 29th January 2020. After 29th January, it was deleted from the rule. It was omitted from the rule. So no, sorry. Not this one. This one. Actually, what happened up to 29th Jan 2020, where the payment was required to be made on a day on which the banks were closed, either on account of holiday or strike. If banks are closed on account of holiday or strike, then payment can be made in the cash. Then expenses can be made in cash. However, it was applicable only up to 29th of January 2020. Up to 29th of January 2020, if banks are closed on account of holiday or strike, then and on that day you need to make any expenditure, then you can make that expenditure other than these mode. इस मोड के अलावा आप ये पेमेंट कर सकते थे अगर स्ट्राइक या हॉलिडे की वजह से बैंक बंद है, लेकिन this has been omitted with effect from 29th of Jan 2020. So in this exam, you need to take care if any payment is made up to 29th Jan 2020 on the day on which bank is closed due to holiday or strike, then it can be made and it is allowable expenditure. However, if it is done after 29th of Jan, on 29th Jan or after 29th of Jan, then it will not be allowable because this has now been omitted. The rest you can read yourself. The important one are 2-3 2-3 इसमें जो है वो important है आपके लिए, तो वो मैंने इसमें से most important for this exam is that if due to strike or holiday बैंक close है तो up to 29 Jan ये cash में पेमेंट चलेगा, लेकिन उसके बाद आपको ये disallowed allowable expenditure नहीं होगा if it is in excess of 10,000 rupees. Then 40 capital A subsection 4 is a journal section and it is just supporting the 40A capital 3. What it is saying that no person shall be allowed to raise in any suit or other proceeding a plea based on the ground that the payment was not made or tendered in cash or in any other manner. So if you make any agreement and as per that agreement आपको cash में payment करनी है, तो Income Tax Act itself says that as per agreement you cannot bind anybody that he will make payment in cash. So 48 capital 4 is just supporting 48(3) कि all payment जो होंगी that will be made in these mode only. if it is in excess of 10,000 rupees. अगर आपने एग्रीमेंट में भी लिख दिया ऐसा कि कैश में पेमेंट होनी है तो भी उसके बावजूद भी आप कैश के लिए किसी को फोर्स नहीं कर सकते। अब अगर आप करते हो तो वो आपको अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर नहीं होगा। Then section 40A7. These all adjustment can be asked by giving a practical question to you. In the practical question, the examiner can give you the adjustment on account of any provision, like on account of 40A3, on account of 40A2, on any examiner can ask any adjustment as per the given provision of these any of these sections. So what 40 capital A7 says? 40 capital A7 says that any provision of gratuity will not be allowed. Any provision of gratuity will not be allowable. But in two cases, I will allow you this. What are those two cases? Contribution towards an approved gratuity fund. If you are making any contribution in the approved gratuity fund, or that particular provision is for gratuity payable during the previous year. Suppose you are making a provision of rupees 10,000 for gratuity, which is payable to those employees to whom the gratuity is payable during the previous year, then that particular provision will be allowed. Otherwise, no provision for gratuity will be allowed. So gratuity का provision करते हुए आपको दो बातें ध्यान रखनी है, या तो वो during the year की gratuity से related आप provision करेंगे, then आपको allow होगा, या फिर वो approved gratuity fund से related करेंगे. So gratuities relating to gratuity we also studied. Relating to gratuity we also studied that whenever gratuity contribution to any gratuity fund, whenever there is any contribution to gratuity fund, then as per section 43B, it will be allowable only when it is paid. So now you have to study both the provision cumulatively. I'll explain you on whiteboard.
கடலை கூட்டுக்கு மீனா அந்த பவுண்டராஜ் ஃபோன் பண்ணிக்காலே. இல்லை நான் இப்போ வேற ஏதோ இதில் இருக்கேன், நீ ஃபோன் பண்ணிக்க, நான் இப்போ கேட்க முடியாது.
Yes. What is provision relating to gratuity? Two provision will be applicable on gratuity. One is 40 capital A7 and the second is 43B. What 43B says? 43B says that if there is any gratuity fund, there is any contribution to gratuity fund, then it will be allowable only when payment is made on payment basis. This 43B says. And what 40A7 says about gratuity? It says that if it is a fund, then it is allowable if it is towards approved gratuity fund. Approved gratuity fund. So on gratuity fund, These two provisions are applicable. First of all, gratuity fund should be approved as per section 40A7, and second, it should be paid. Then only deduction of contribution towards gratuity fund shall be allowable. Then only contribution towards gratuity fund shall be allowable. However, if it is provision for gratuity expenses, gratuity, there is no fund, it is just provision for gratuity expenses. Company has not made any fund for this. Company is making only the provision for gratuity. Then it will be allowable only when it is for the gratuity payable during the year. So to that extent, provision will be allowable. Up to what extent? This is for those person to whom the gratuity is payable during the year. So contribution towards fund will be allowable only when it is approved and payment has been made. However, provision for gratuity expenses will be allowable if it is made for those person who will get the gratuity during the year. Right? It is clear to all, or is there any doubt?
Sir,
Clear?
sir, please repeat.
I'm saying that what we are discussing here, we are discussing that when we can claim gratuity expenses in P&L account. In P&L account, if there is some expenditure in the name of contribution to gratuity fund, contribution to gratuity fund, or it is written there that provision for gratuity. कंट्रीब्यूशन टू ग्रेचुटी फंड वहां पे लिखा है या प्रोविजन फॉर ग्रेचुटी वहां पे लिखा है, ये दोनों आपको अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर तभी होंगे, फंड के लिए तो आपका अप्रूव फंड होना जरूरी है ग्रेचुटी का. इफ इन क्वेश्चन इट इज गिवन दैट इट इज नॉट अप्रूव फंड, तो आपको तो वहीं से इसको डिसअलाउड कर देना है. नेक्स्ट आपको देखना ही नहीं है पेमेंट हुई है नहीं हुई है. अगर ये अप्रूव्ड है देन आपको नेक्स्ट स्टेप एक और प्लस करना है इसमें. व्हाट नेक्स्ट स्टेप? एज पर 43B, this fund should have been paid, the amount towards this fund have been paid before the due date of return. Before the due date of return अगर आप इसमें amount pay कर दिया then only it will be allowable. So this is my P&L account and there are two expenses. One is contribution to gratuity fund. To see whether this particular expenses will be allowable or not, I have to study two sections. One is 40A7 and second is 43B. If condition of both these sections are cumulative fulfilled, then only it will be allowable expenditure. What are those conditions? At per 47, it should be approved gratuity fund, and at per 43B, contribution has been paid before contribution has been paid before the due date. Before the due date, आपने contribution अगर इसमें pay कर दिया है और ये approved gratuity fund है, then only this expenditure will be allowable. अगर इसमें से एक भी condition आपकी नहीं fulfill होती है तो ये contribution to gratuity fund will not be allowed. However, if there is any expenses which is provision for gratuity, it means company doesn't have any fund, it is just provision for gratuity, then this will be allowable if as per section 40A7, this provision is only for those employee who is retiring during the year and gratuity is payable to them during the year. Suppose 10,000 rupees is payable to employee as a gratuity who are retiring during the year. ड्यूरिंग द ईयर ये लोग जा रहे हैं, इनको ड्यूरिंग द ईयर पेबल हो रहा है, देन ओनली प्रोविजन विल बी अलाउबल। अदरवाइज अगर ये फंड है तो फंड का अप्रूव होना जरूरी है एंड बिफोर द ड्यू डेट पेमेंट होना जरूरी है। इन दीज टू केसेस ओनली द ग्रेचुटी विल बी अलाउबल एंड इन नो अदर केसेस इट विल बी अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर। होप नाउ इट इज क्लियर टू एवरीवन। या स्टिल कोई डाउट है इस पे?
यस सर, क्लियर।
ठीक है। फंड में आपने दो कंडीशन देखनी है, फंड को अप्रूव भी कराना है एंड फंड को आपने 43B की डेट से पहले पेमेंट भी करानी है इसकी। लेकिन अगर ये केवल प्रोविजन फॉर ग्रेचुटी है तो प्रोविजन फॉर ग्रेचुटी में बस आपको देखना कि कोई और प्रोविजन अलाउड नहीं होगा, उस ग्रेचुटी के लिए हो जाएगा जो ड्यूरिंग द ईयर ही आपको पेबल हो रही है। ठीक है, तो आपको वहां पे ध्यान रखना है क्वेश्चन में व्हाट जनरली एग्जामिनर आस्क दैट there is a valuation by actuarial valuation of gratuity as per which company make provision of rupees 10,000 of gratuity. It is not fund, company is making provision, but provision is based on the basis of the valuation by the actuarial. So what you say, it will be allowable expenditure or not? किसी एक्चुरियल से वैल्यूएशन करके ग्रेचुटी का प्रोविजन किया है कंपनी ने, कोई फंड नहीं है कंपनी का, तो अलाउ हो जाएगा या नहीं होगा? But here you need to give a note that it will be allowable only when this particular provision is relating to those employees who is retiring during the year and payable during the year. एक्चुरियल वैल्यूएशन डजंट मीन कि ये उन लोगों के लिए प्रोविजन हो गया जो ड्यूरिंग द ईयर रिटायर हो रहे हैं। एक्चुरियल वैल्यूएशन तो अपना टोटल पूरा लाइफ साइकिल निकाल के 30 इयर्स का जो भी है और जितने भी एम्प्लॉय का ड्यू हो रहा होता है उस हिसाब से इसको प्रोविजन करता है। तो हमें क्वेश्चन में अगर अनटिल अनलेस ये नहीं दिया है कि दिस इज प्रोविजन फॉर द ग्रेचुटी अमाउंट टेबल ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, तब तक हमें अलाउ नहीं करना है। अगर आप अलाउ कर भी रहे हैं देन यू नीड टू गिव नोट कि वी आर प्रिज्यूमिंग दैट व्हाटएवर प्रोविजन इज मेड दिस इज ओनली फॉर द ग्रेचुटी पेबल ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, राइट? Now the next is so this was for the gratuity on the same pattern. 14A9 also talks about contribution to various other fund, and what are those fund? Those are recognized provident fund, pension scheme, approved gratuity fund. So as per section 48(9) also, if you are making any contribution to any fund, and this is for the benefit of employee, then it will be allowable only when it is for recognized provident fund or approved superannuation fund or a pension scheme or a approved gratuity fund. So it means if you see any contribution from the company side and it is debited in P&L account, then it will be allowable expenditure only when either it is a approved gratuity fund or it is a approved superannuation fund, recognized provident fund, pension scheme which is recognized under section 80 CCD. Other than these, any contribution to any fund will not be allowed. So first of all fund need to be take care that these should be some approved fund, and after that as per 43B it will be allowable only when the payment has been made. So in respect to फंड, आपको फंड के रेस्पेक्ट में ये दो चीजें ध्यान रखनी है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल फंड वही होने चाहिए जो 48(7) एंड 48(9) में बोला गया है। Either it can be gratuity fund, recognized provident fund, pension scheme fund. Other than this fund, if any contribution is made in any fund, then it will not be allowable expenditure. And again, if this is for approved fund, however, the payment has not been made as per section 43B before the due date of ROI, then also it will not be allowable expenditure. सो फंड से रिलेटेड आपको टोटल ध्यान रखना है। पहले सबसे पहले उनका अप्रूव्ड या एज पर 48(9) होना जरूरी है। देन उसके बाद आपको ये भी चेक करना है कि उस फंड की पर्टिकुलर फंड की पेमेंट हो गई है या नहीं हो गई है। देन ओनली यू विल अलाउ एनी एक्सपेंडिचर रिलेटिंग टू दैट फंड। Now there are few sections which says that no expenses will be allowed. No expenses will be allowed if TDS has not been deducted in time. If TDS has not been deducted in time or deducted but not credited in the account of the government in time, as per the time given in the Income Tax Act. अगर आप TDS टाइम से नहीं काटते हो तो आपको वो expenses disallowed हो जाएगा. कितना expenses disallowed होगा? There are 3 sections on this. Main section is section 40 small a. इसका सब क्लोज फर्स्ट आपको कहता है TDS not deducted or deposited in time on any sum payable outside India or in India to non-resident, non-being a company or to a foreign company. अगर foreign company को या non-resident को किसी भी royalty, technical fees, whatever is taxable in the hand of foreign company or non-resident, if you are making any such payment on which TDS is not deducted or deducted but not deposited in time, then 100% of such sum shall not be allowable, shall be disallowed. 100% of that expenditure will be disallowed. Suppose you are paying 1,000 crore to a foreign company as a royalty or technical fees, as a royalty or technical fees. So to allow this expenditure, you need to deduct TDS first and need to deposit in time to the government. If you will not deduct TDS or you will not deposit that same in time, then this 1,000 crore will not be allowable to you. Then clause IA of section 40 small a says that if TDS is deductible on any sum payable to a resident, then the entire expenditure will not be disallowed. Only the 30% will be disallowed. Only the 30% will be disallowed. Suppose you are making 100 crore payment to a resident professional as consultancy fees, then 30%, 30 crore of these expenses will be disallowed if TDS has not been deducted or deducted but not paid on time. However, there is exceptions recently inserted to these both sections. What is that exception? Exception says that if payee to whom you made the technical fees payment or consultancy fees payment, if payee has declared, because the main objective of the government is only to collect the tax, it can come through the payer or through the payee. So if payee has furnished his ROI and the payee had considered this particular consultancy or royalty income in its return of income and paid tax on that income, then in that case, this two provision will not be applicable. It means whether TDS is deducted on that or not, or deposited in time or not, it will be allowable expenditure if these three conditions are fulfilled. What are these conditions? That payee had furnished the ROI, payee had taken into account such sum and paid the tax due. इट मीन्स पेई ने अपनी आरओआई में इस पर्टिकुलर इनकम को दिखा दिया हो, उसके ऊपर अगर टैक्स पे कर दिया हो तो उसके ऊपर अगर हमने टीडीएस काटा था या नहीं काटा था तो उससे हमें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. दिस विल बी अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर. However, if this condition is not fulfilled, then we need to take care that that TDS is deducted in time and deposited in time. If not deposited, then 100% of foreign expenditure and 30% of the Indian expenditure will be disallowable. And one more common provision is that it will be disallowable. It will be allowed in the subsequent year. In which the company or any assessee, because this is applicable to all assessee, in which the assessee will deduct and pay the TDS amount. So first of all, you need to check that before filing of return, if the company has not made deducted TDS or has not deposited the TDS amount to the government before filing of return, then it will be disallowed in the particular year in which the expenses is incurred. However, if after filing of return in any subsequent year, the company will deposit the TDS on that, then in that particular year it will be allowable. However, if payee has already paid tax on that particular income, then in spite of TDS is deducted or not, it will be allowable expenditure. So क्या ओवरऑल हमने पढ़ा इसमें TDS से रिलेटेड कि TDS अगर नॉन रेजिडेंट का डिडक्ट करना था और नहीं किया आपने तो 100% डिसअलाउड हो जाएगा, रेजिडेंट का करना था नहीं किया तो 30% एक्सपेंडिचर डिसअलाउड हो जाएगा अगर आपने बिफोर फाइलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न TDS उसका जमा नहीं कराया. However, in any subsequent year, if you deposited TDS, तो उस subsequent year में आपको allow हो जाएगा. Same on the ground, जैसे हमने 43B का स्टडी किया था कि 43B में टैक्स की पेमेंट अगर आपने नहीं की तो it will be disallowable in that particular year in which it is incurred. However, if in any subsequent year you will make the payment, then it will be allowable in that particular subsequent year. So we can understand this through a presentation.
सर
हाँ जी.
मतलब जो प्रीवियस ईयर का जो था वो सब्सिक्वेंट करंट ईयर में पेमेंट कर दिया तो अलाउड है, ऐसा क्या?
I'm making I'm drawing an example on whiteboard. Give me a minute. It is visible to all. Whiteboard is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is one section 40 small a and there is one 43B. 43B. As per 43B, few payment will be allowable only on payment basis. Only on payment basis. And as per 40 small a, few payment are allowable if you have deducted TDS on that and deposited to the government. We all know that on few payments, like in domestic payment, if it is of consultancy nature or it is of contract payment to contractor or it is payment to agent or it is payment of rent, then these type of payment, deductor is liable to deduct TDS before making these payment. Payer is liable to deduct TDS, and same on foreign income like consultancy income, like technical fees. This you will also study in the international taxation. Technical fees, royalty. Payer is liable to deduct TDS before making these payment. So as per specified rate given in the Income Tax Act, before the specified date, the payer need to deduct TDS and deposit it into the account of the government. However, suppose A Limited is a payer company. It made two payments, and this is our assessment year This is our assessment year 2021. This is our assessment year 2021 means previous year starting from 1st of April 2019 to 31st March 2020. So between this period, A Limited made two payments. One is to resident who provided consultancy, and the company made payment of rupees 10,000. And on the other side, payment was made to a non-resident or to a foreign company in the nature of royalty of rupees 10,000. Payment was made to non-resident, payment was made to resident of rupees 10,000 in the nature of consultancy and in the nature of royalty. Suppose on this payment, the company does not deduct any TDS, and on this payment also, the company does not deduct any TDS. इन बहुत पेमेंट पे कोई TDS डिडक्ट नहीं करा कंपनी ने, तो अभी मैं डेट नहीं ले रहा हूं कब तक जमा करना है, आई एम जस्ट चेकिंग कि कोई डिडक्ट नहीं करा. देन इन द केस ऑफ रेजिडेंट ओनली द 30% of 10,000 will be disallowed. 3,000 will not be allowable expenditure. It means 3,000 आप normal provision में add back कर देंगे, and here the entire 10,000 will be disallowed. However, the company has time up to the filing of return, filing of ROI. It means filing of ROI time is November 2020. If up to November 2020, company deduct TDS and deposited in the account of government, whether it is late deposited but deposited in the accounts of in the government account, then it will be allowable in financial year 1920 itself, in assessment year 2021. But when the November will pass, then after November, if company make any TDS payment or deduct TDS, and after it was deposited in the government account after November 20, then it will be allowable in that particular year in which the company will make payment to the government. It means if it is deposited in December 20, then it will be allowable in financial year 2021. If it is deposited in April 21, then it will be allowable in 21-22. It means up to ROI date आपको उसी फाइनेंशियल ईयर में अलाउड हो जाएगा जिसमें आपने इंकर किया है, बट आफ्टर ROI डेट इफ यू मेक्स डिपॉजिट ऑफ दिस TDS, तो फिर ये उस ईयर में होगा जिस ईयर में आपने TDS की पेमेंट की है. होप नाउ इट इज क्लियर टू ऑल.
सर इसमें TDS रिटर्न भी देखेंगे क्या?
TDS रिटर्न तो आप प्रोविजन अप्लाई करते हुए देखेंगे ना, सॉरी TDS डिपॉजिट देखेंगे. TDS आपने रिटर्न फाइल टाइम पे फाइल किया उसको नहीं देखना.
ओके सर.
हाँ, मतलब आप TDS रिटर्न ये हो जाता है कि उसको उससे चेक करने के लिए वन ऑफ द एविडेंस हो सकता है, बट इट कैन नॉट बी एविडेंस फॉर टू डिसअलाउइंग द एक्सपेंडिचर. अगर आपने TDS का चालान जमा कर दिया है, गवर्नमेंट के अकाउंट में डिपॉजिट हो गया, देन इट इज सफिशिएंट कंप्लायंस. ठीक है.
ओके सर.
If it is deposited within by November 20, तो 2021 असेसमेंट ईयर में ही अलाउड हो जाएगा. अदरवाइज जिस प्रीवियस ईयर में आप पेमेंट करेंगे उस प्रीवियस ईयर में ये खर्चा अलाउ होगा. सेम 43B के साथ था. 43B में भी कोई खर्चा था हमारा. सेक्शन 43B में हमारा कोई एक्सपेंडिचर है जो पेमेंट बेसिस पे मिलना है. अगर आप बिफोर ड्यू डेट पे कर देंगे, उसे November 20 तक पे कर देंगे, तो वो उसी ईयर में मिल जाएगा जिस ईयर में आपने वो खर्चा किया है. अदरवाइज जिस ईयर में आप जाके पे करेंगे उस साल का एक्सपेंडिचर अलाउ होगा और उस पर्टिकुलर ईयर में डिसअलाउड हो जाएगा. क्लियर?
यस सर.
However, if TDS is not deducted on salary, which is payable outside India or payable to non, तो एक TDS का disallowance ये भी है, but what is special about this disallowance? This amount will be disallowed once, will be disallowed for forever. It will not be allowable on subsequent payments. Subsequent payment आप इसकी कर भी दोगे, एक बार आप एक दिन से भी लेट हुए, if you got delayed only by 1 day, then only this disallowance will be made. किस एक्सपेंडिचर का? अगर आपने कोई सैलरी की पेमेंट करनी है, सैलरी आउटसाइड इंडिया किसी पर्सन को देनी है, किसी नॉन रेजिडेंट को देनी है, तो वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट कंप्लायंस इज देयर. यू हैव टू पे TDS एंड डिपॉजिट TDS विद इन टाइम गिवन इन द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट. अगर आपने विद इन टाइम आपने एक दिन का भी डिले किया, देन इट विल बी डिसलाउड एंड डिसलाउड फॉर एवर. इट विल नॉट बी अलाउबल. So there are 3 types of disallowances in relating to TDS. One is any expenses payable to foreign or any expenses payable to Indian resident. So if it is payable to resident, then 35% disallowance is there. If it is payable to non-resident or foreign company, then 100% disallowance is there. However, in the subsequent year, it will be allowed if you have if you made the compliance in the subsequent year. However, 48.3 says that if salary is payable to outside India or to a non-resident, so you have to pay TDS in time. If it is delayed even by 1 day, then it will be disallowed, and disallowance will be for forever. ये आपका कभी भी एक बार आपका डिसअलाउंस हुआ तो स्ट्रिक्ट प्रोविजन है, कभी भी अलाउंस नहीं होगा और आपको एक दिन से भी डिले नहीं करना है इसमें. Then like you need to deduct TDS, there are few payments on which you need to deduct equalization levy. Equalization levy. So whenever you make any advertisement payment, online advertisement payment out of India, if you make any online advertisement payment or an online advertisement space payment, then the payer is required to deduct 6% equalization levy on that particular payments. So on the same ground, like if you didn't deduct the TDS on these payment, then the relevant expenditure will disallow. On the same lines, if on any payments equalization levy is deductible and payable to government, and you didn't deduct that equalization levy, or after deducted did not deposited in the account of the government, then also it will be disallowed. However, if you pay in the subsequent year as above in section 48, it will be allowed. So there are three subsections for TDS payment. One is for equalization levy. If you make if there is any failure to deduct TDS or equalization levy, then the relevant expenditure will be disallowed to you. Then again, 40A clause 2 says that any income tax is not allowed to you. Specifically, section 40 subsection 40 small a subclause 2 says that if there is any income tax amount, it will not be allowable to you. And income tax also include tax under section 90, 90A, or under 90 under section 91. So these are the sections in which if any tax is deducted in India as well as in foreign country, then on that particular income double taxation relief is available. So इनकम टैक्स एक्ट आपको कहता है कि अगर सेक्शन 90, 90, 91 की रिलीफ आपको मिल रही है, रिलीफ क्यों मिल रही है? क्योंकि एक आपकी इनकम थी, उस पर बाहर भी टैक्स कट गया, आपका इंडिया में भी टैक्स कट गया. तो अगर आपने उस पर्टिकुलर टैक्स की रिलीफ ली है, डबल टैक्सेशन रिलीफ, जो आप इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन में भी स्टडी करेंगे, अगर आपने उसकी रिलीफ लिया है तो उस पर्टिकुलर खर्चे की आप डिडक्शन नहीं लेंगे. दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज इनकम टैक्स. सो इनकम टैक्स, नाउ यू कैन कंपेयर दैट इनकम टैक्स इज नॉट अलाउबल अंडर द नॉर्मल प्रोविजन एज वेल एज अंडर द मैट प्रोविजन. Under the MAT provision, it was specifically mentioned in one of the adjustment that income tax shall be added back, and here in section 40A clause 2, income tax will not be allowable. Income tax include section 90, 98, 91 relief also. अगर आपने ऐसे किसी टैक्स की डबल टैक्सेशन रिलीफ ली है तो ये वाला टैक्स भी आपको अलाउ नहीं होगा, आप डबल टैक्सेशन रिलीफ ही लेंगे बस इसकी। यहां तक क्लियर है सभी को? कोई डाउट तो नहीं आ रहा है?
नो सर।
ठीक है। Then second A says that wealth tax will not be allowed. So in the normal provision, income tax as well as wealth tax will not be allowed. However, under the MAT, what we studied that only the income tax will be added back, wealth tax will not be added back. यहाँ पे आप कंपेयर करते हुए चल सकते हैं। वेल्थ टैक्स को आप बुक प्रॉफिट करते हुए नहीं ऐड बैक करेंगे, लेकिन मैं आपको बताया था कि जब भी आप बुक प्रॉफिट की कंप्यूटेशन कर रहे हो तो यू विल मेक एडजस्टमेंट ओनली इन अकॉर्डिंग विद द सेक्शन 115 जेबी। 115 जेबी में लिखा है अगर तो करेंगे, अदरवाइज नहीं करेंगे। कहीं और लिखा है वेल्थ टैक्स अलाउड नहीं होगा, दैट विल एप्लीकेबल ओनली अंडर द नॉर्मल प्रोविजन। तो नॉर्मल प्रोविजन में वेल्थ टैक्स विल नॉट बी अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर। हाउएवर मैट जब आप कंप्यूट करेंगे वहां पे आपको अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर, वहां पे आपको एड बैक करने की जरूरत नहीं है उसको। Then you must have studied this tax in your while doing the salary chapter in inter, कि जब भी परक्यूजिट्स के ऊपर, परक्यूजिट्स जो नॉन मॉनेटरी परक्यूजिट्स जो एम्प्लॉय को मिलते हैं उसके ऊपर अगर कोई टैक्स जमा करता है एम्प्लॉयर, तो एम्प्लॉयर कैन deposit tax on non-perquisites, non-monetary perquisite, but that tax will not be allowable expenditure. Suppose किसी एम्प्लॉयर ने, किसी कंपनी ने कि कोई बेनिफिट, नॉन मॉनेटरी बेनिफिट, कोई रेंट फ्री अकोमोडेशन या कोई कार की फैसिलिटी अपने एम्प्लॉय को दिया और उसके ऊपर कुछ टैक्स का इंप्लीकेशन भी आ रहा था, वो टैक्स भी एम्प्लॉयर ने जमा कर दिया, तो दैट पर्टिकुलर टैक्स अमाउंट विल नॉट बी अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर। And this 43B we have covered already, that these are the payments which are allowable only on payment basis. So अगर आप before due date payment कर देंगे तो आपको पेमेंट उसी ईयर में मिल जाएगा in which you will incur these expenditure. However, अगर आप उसके बाद करते हैं तो जिस ईयर में आप करेंगे पेमेंट उस ईयर में मिलेगा। और इससे रिलेटेड आज फंड से रिलेटेड हमने 2 स्पेसिफिक सेक्शन और कर लिए हैं। उसपे 43B तो लगेगा। उस पर यह भी लगेगा कि ये फंड जो होने चाहिए पहले 40A7 और 40A9 वाले ही होने चाहिए। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, these funds should be of the nature mentioned in section 40A7 and 40A9. आपकी एक बार नेचर मैच कर गई इससे, देन यू विल कम ऑन 43B। फिर आप ये चेक करेंगे कि पेमेंट बिफोर ROI डेट हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है। तो these all are the adjustments which are required under the normal provision. और एग्जामिनर इसमें से किसी भी एडजस्टमेंट को आप में, और आप रेगुलरली क्वेश्चंस भी उठा के देख सकते हैं पास्ट के, इसमें से कोई ना कोई एडजस्टमेंट आपको वहां पे मिल जाएगी। Most important adjustment for this time is this particular omission from section 40A2, this one. In this you need to take care that if any cash payment is made up to 29 January 2020 on the date of holiday or strike of the bank, then it is allowable. If it is made on or after 29 January 2020, then it is not allowable expenditure because it has been omitted from the exceptions. Clear है यहाँ तक सबको?
Yes sir.
Okay. So with this, I'm starting new chapter. Rather, it is a new chapter, but it is a part of PGBP itself, ICDS. So I'm just sharing the study first. Study is visible to all?
Yes sir.
Okay. Anybody has any idea about income computation and disclosure standards? What is this exactly? ICDS and how it is part of PGBP? क्या होते हैं ये इनकम कंप्यूटेशन एंड डिस्क्लोजर स्टैंडर्ड्स? किसी को कोई भी आइडिया हो?
Just like accounting standards.
कुछ भी बता सकते हो, एक बार ट्राई करके देखो क्या हो सकता है इसमें।
जी है ना, जो AS पढ़े थे इंटर में।
आपकी वॉइस क्लियर नहीं है, वॉइस नहीं आ रही है आपकी।
सर अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स के जैसे ही है ना ये वाला भी, जो इंटर में पढ़ा था।
इंटर में क्या पढ़ा था?
अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड।
ठीक है, वो कहाँ पढ़े थे आपने?
जो एक
वो
फाइनेंस
आप,
और कॉस्ट में था और कंपनी अकाउंट्स में भी था।
हाँ वो आपने कंपनी अकाउंट में पढ़े होंगे ना। इनकम टैक्स में तो आज तक आपने नहीं पढ़ा ना कोई स्टैंडर्ड टाइप का।
नहीं।
So basically, what are these ICDS, Income Computation and Disclosure Standard? These are some standard prescribed by the government, in which government wants that if a particular circumstance will come, then you will make treatment only as per this ICDS. Like if I take example of revenue recognition, just a minute. Suppose a company had provided a service, or we can say that a company will provide a service. Total contract value of this service is 100 crore, 100 CR. Total contract value of this service is 100 CR. Now earlier the company had choice as per accounting standard. As per the accounting standard are given in accounts while preparing the accounts of the company. As per accounting standard, the company had choice to follow the percentage of completion method, or project completion method. What is project completion method? कि जब आपका प्रोजेक्ट पूरा हो जाए, जब आपका 100 करोड़ का पूरा प्रोजेक्ट हो जाए, देन आप इसको रेवेन्यू बुक कर लेना. And what percentage of completion method says? What percentage of completion method says that you book the revenue as per the percentage of your completion. Suppose out of 100 crore, 50% work has been completed in first year itself. Then it is mandate of the Income Tax Act now. It is mandate of the Income Tax Act now that at least 50% of the contract revenue shall be declared in first year. तो फर्स्ट ईयर में आप 100 में से 50% काम पूरा हो गया तो 50% आप रिवेन्यू भी डिक्लेयर करेंगे. देन उसके नेक्स्ट ईयर में 25% हुआ. देन उसके नेक्स्ट ईयर में, तो एज एंड व्हेन योर वर्क इज कंप्लीटेड यू विल डिक्लेयर योर रिवेन्यू एज पर दैट परसेंटेज. अर्लियर क्या होता था, जिसने परसेंटेज ऑफ कंप्लीशन मेथड फॉलो कर लिया उससे तो गवर्नमेंट को रिवेन्यू जल्दी मिल रहा है, और जो अपना कह रहा है कि नहीं जी मैं तो प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीशन मेथड आई फॉलो प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीशन मेथड, उससे रिवेन्यू थर्ड ईयर के लास्ट में जाके गवर्नमेंट को मिल रहा है. तो गवर्नमेंट एंड दिस इज द वन सिचुएशन. देयर आर वेरियस सच सिचुएशन in which government want the preponement of the tax. Government want the prepayment of the tax, and government want that all will follow a standard procedure. Standard procedure सब follow करें. और जो are the situation government को समझ में आई, on that situation the government made 10 ICDS. So 10 ICDS are basically 10 type of situations in which government wants preponement of the tax, in which government wants preponement of the tax. So the government made 10 type of ICDS, that if these type of 10 particular situation will come, then you will surrender your income as per the income tax provision on your accounting, on your books of account, whatever accounting standard is applicable, whatever Ind AS is applicable, you will follow that. But while calculating the income tax, while calculating how we calculate the income tax, we calculate the income tax under the head PGBP, under the head PGBP. So while calculating your PGBP income, जब अपने आप profit and gains and profession or business से आप निकालते हैं, while calculating that income, you will follow these situation. अगर आपने accounts के अंदर project completion method लगाया है, then you need to calculate your profit as per the percentage completion method, and as per that you will pay the income tax. Income tax. So that's why I'm saying that these ICDS are the part of PGBP. Until unless you are not clear about the 10 particular situation given in these 10 ICDS, you will not be able to calculate the correct amount of profit or gain from the business and profession under the Income Tax Act. So अभी तक आपको ये आइडिया लग गया होगा, these all are the ICDS for computing your income tax income, not for accounting. For accounting, you can apply accounting standard, Ind AS, whatever is applicable on you. You will prepare books of account as per that. And like in other provisions, like in section 43B, 40A2, we make some adjustment. The same type of adjustment you need to make while calculating your income tax income if it is not calculated as per these ICDS. So अगर ICDS के according आपको लगता है कि ICDS is saying this और आपने किसी और तरीके से इनकम कंप्यूट करी हुई है, then you have to make that particular adjustment. So ये 10 के 10 ICDS में हम अलग अलग सिचुएशन पढ़ेंगे. इस सिचुएशन में एक स्टैंडर्ड, द गवर्नमेंट विल गिव यू द स्टैंडर्ड, और इस स्टैंडर्ड के हिसाब से ही आपकी इनकम कंप्यूट होनी चाहिए. So I'm just reading from the study. In exercise of the power conferred by section 45(2), the central government has notified wide notification number 87/2016 dated 29/9/2016 the income computation and disclosure standard. The rationale behind issuing ICDS is to lessen the uncertainty of alternative accounting treatment. There are various accounting treatment to a particular situation. So what the government want, that if there is in such type of flexibility, the correct income tax will not accrue to the government. So due to alternate accounting treatment due to flexibility offered by the accounting standard, and also be reduced litigation that crops up when stand taken by income tax authority is not in alignment with the AS. So in some situation, the government the income tax authority find that in some situation they are not agree to allow that particular expenses, or they are they don't want to allow that particular expenditure, but there are various judgment, there are various rulings, or there are various treatment given by the accounting with the help of which the assessee is claiming those expenditure. So preponement tax का हो जाए, flexibility खत्म हो जाए, uncertainty खत्म हो जाए. That's why the government introduced 10 ICDS. So basically these are the most you can say कि जिसके लिए गवर्नमेंट कब से वेट कर रही थी. ये 10 सिचुएशन ऐसी थी जिसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने वेट किया, और अभी आज तक टिल डेट 10 ICDS हैज बीन मेड बाय द गवर्नमेंट. धीरे धीरे अब जब भी गवर्नमेंट को लगेगा कि हाँ यहाँ पे भी अकाउंटिंग में कोई डिसिमिलरिटी चल रही है, यहाँ पे भी प्रीपोनमेंट नहीं हो रहा है, ये ट्रीटमेंट एज पर गवर्नमेंट नहीं हो रहा है, तो गवर्नमेंट कैन इंट्रोड्यूस न्यू ICDS और न्यू या फिर एग्जिस्टिंग ICDS जो है उसमें वो प्रोविजन में चेंज कर सकती है. तो बेसिकली we need to understand that ICDS is for making adjustment in the computation of income. The standards are required to be followed by all assessee. who will follow this? All SSE will follow this, but छोटे इंडिविजुअल और HUF जो हैं they will not follow. Small individual and who are small individual and HUF who is not required to get his accounts of the previous year audited under section 44AB. So under section 44AB there is a compulsory audit. So if you are individual or HUF, then ICDS will not be applicable if you are not required to get your accounts audited. Other than individual HUF, whether an audit is applicable or not, you have to prepare your computation of income as per ICDS. आपको ICDS compulsorily follow करना पड़ेगा. And if you are following the cash system of accounting, then also ICDS will not be applicable, because in cash system of accounting, whenever cash will come, you will surrender that. There is no accounting treatment. So this ICDS will be applicable only when the assessee is following the mercantile system of accounting. In Income Tax Act, both system of accounting is available to the assessee, either the cash system or mercantile system, but it should be regularly employed by the assessee. So if anybody is employing cash system, that like doctor and other professional apply cash system, then in that case ICDS will not be applicable. So two persons are there on which ICDS will not be applicable. One, individual HUF on which tax audit is not applicable. Second, who is not follow the mercantile system of accounting for the purpose of computation of income chargeable to income tax under the head profit and gains of business profession or income from other sources. On two head it will be applicable, because in two head only we see that whether this particular expense is allowed or not allowed, whether this income is chargeable or not chargeable. In these two in these two head only we see this. So it will be applicable while calculating your business profession income, or it will while calculating your income from other sources. So the standard are not for the purpose of maintenance of books of account. This we need to clear that ये जो हमारे ICDS हैं ये बुक्स के लिए नहीं है. बुक्स जो आप जैसे बनाते हो आप वैसे बनाओ बुक्स अपनी, but on the basis of books of account, when you calculate your total income, you will take consideration of these ICDS also. आप अपनी इनकम जो इनकम टैक्स के लिए कैलकुलेट करेंगे उसमें आप ICDS का भी ध्यान रखेंगे. The standard are for computation of income under aforesaid income only. In case of conflict between the provision of Income Tax Act and ICDS, the provision of the Act shall prevail to that extent. Obvious hai, if there is something specifically given in the Income Tax Act or income tax rules, that will prevail over ICDS, because ICDS is giving you the general accounting treatment of a particular expenses while calculating your income tax income. So income tax act में या उसके rules में कुछ contradiction आता है ICDS से, then you will follow your income tax act. Otherwise वैसे ये कभी rarely होगा that income tax act और ICDS will contradict, because दोनों को same authority बना रही है. But still if there is some specific provision given in the income tax act, then that particular provision will be applicable and ICDS will not prevail. So through this diagram also we can understand that on which type of assessee this is applicable. Assessee having income under the head PGBP and income from other sources. If he is following cash method of accounting, then no ICDS. तो आप किसी भी तरह का assessee है, once you are following cash method of accounting, no ICDS, because cash method is very easy. Whenever cash will come, you just surrender the income. So there is no need to define any circumstances under the cash method of accounting. However, when you are following mercantile method of accounting, then there are various options are available. In that case, ICDS will be applicable. But now we need to see that whether it is assessee is individual HUF. If assessee is individual HUF, then ICDS will be applicable only when the tax audit is applicable. If assessee is not individual HUF, then ICDS, if SSC is individual HUF and tax audit is not applicable, then ICDS will also not applicable on such type of individual and HUF. Other than individual and HUF, whether tax audit is applicable or not applicable, once he is following the mercantile system of accounting, he will calculate its PGBP and income from other sources as per the ICDS. Hope basic clear हो गया सबको ICDS का?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, we have just studied that there was some notification in 2016 through which the government has notified 10 ICDS. And first year of applicability of ICDS was assessment year 2017 and 18. Government want that whosoever will calculate its income for the assessment year 17-18, he will calculate its income as per by applying ICDS. But this notification was challenged in Delhi High Court. Why it was challenged? Because through notification only rule can be inserted. So रूल जब भी आपको कोई रूल इंसर्ट करना होता है, जो लॉ बनना होता है वो पार्लियामेंट में बनता है, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट के डिसीजन के थ्रू बनता है. इफ यू वांट टू मेक इट पार्ट ऑफ एक्ट, देन इट कैन बी मेड in parliament or through Supreme Court or High Court. But the government introduced these ICDS only by insertion of this notification in 2016. So this notification was challenged in Delhi High Court, that how a rule, because there are various situations in ICDS. There are various situations in ICDS which will overrule Supreme Court decision and High Court decision. So this question was specifically asked from the government, and government give the clarification on that also. क्या क्वेश्चन उससे गवर्नमेंट से पूछा गया? गवर्नमेंट से क्वेश्चन पूछा गया कि ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट का जो डिसीजन है, these are law in itself, वो अपने आप में लॉ है, and how can you overrule this law of which is on the basis of Supreme Court and High Court decision? How can you overrule this law merely by insertion of this notification? So this was challenged in Delhi High Court, and Delhi High Court pronounced the judgment in favor of the SSC. लेकिन गवर्नमेंट को तो लेकर आना ही था ICDS. गवर्नमेंट के सामने अब क्या चैलेंज आ गया? गवर्नमेंट के सामने ये चैलेंज आ गया. तो इससे पहले मैं आपको एक क्वेश्चन भी I make you read one question on that particular clarification. So after notification in 2016, the government will come with some clarification also in the form of question and answer. So I am reading one question. One question was asked from the government that certain ICDS provision are inconsistent with judicial precedents. That your certain ICDS are inconsistent with judicial precedent, the decision of High Court and Supreme Court, they are against the High Court and Supreme Court decision. So whether the judicial precedents would prevail over ICDS, then government replied that ICDS have been notified after due deliberation and after examining judicial view of, for bringing certainty on the issue covered by it. Certain judicial pronouncement were pronounced in the absence of authoritative guidance on these issues under the Act for computing income under the head PGBP or income from other sources. Since certainty is now provided by notifying ICDS under section 145(2), the provision of ICDS shall be applicable to the transactional issues dealt therein in relation to assessment year 17-18 and subsequent assessment year. So government was of the view that this ICDS will overrule the judgment of Supreme Court and High Court, and from assessment year 17-18 and onwards, only the ICDS will prevail. Supreme Court and High Court decision will not be prevail. So this particular subject was challenged. In Delhi High Court in the matter of Chamber of Tax Consultant. Chamber of Tax Consultant. So Chamber of Tax Consultant ने इस चीज को चैलेंज किया in Delhi High Court, and Delhi High Court accept the plea of Chamber of Tax Consultant and ruled that with the help of notification, judgment of Supreme Court, High Court, etc. or law cannot be overruled. So एक तरह से इस जजमेंट के बाद ICDS जो है फिर दोबारा से रिडेंडेंट हो गए 1 to 10 ICDS, बिकॉज जो भी वो कराना चाह रहे थे वो एक्ट के या फिर जो भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट या हाई कोर्ट में सेटल्ड हो चुका है उसके अगेंस्ट जा रहा था, तो वो नोटिफिकेशन के थ्रू तो करा नहीं सकते थे उस वक्त, तो इट वाज नॉट पॉसिबल थ्रू नोटिफिकेशन. तो व्हाट द गवर्नमेंट डू इन द नेक्स्ट फाइनेंस एक्ट 2018, in the Finance Act 2018, wherever was the dispute in the ICDS, ICDS में जहां डिस्प्यूट था सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट के डिसीजन से, या जहां गवर्नमेंट को लगता था, फॉर दैट द गवर्नमेंट पास द स्पेसिफिक सेक्शंस उन्होंने पास कर दिए एंड उसकी पार्लियामेंट में अप्रूवल ले ली, एंड नाउ दे बिकम द पार्ट ऑफ लॉ. So part of law जब एक बार बन गया, then they can overrule the Supreme Court and High Court decision. So अब आप देखेंगे, I'll show in the study. So in Finance Act 2018, amendment was made in the Income Tax Act, and these amendment was made retrospectively, because what government wanted to apply these ICDS from the assessment year 17-18. So in Finance Act 2018, these particular sections were inserted specifically to give impact of ICDS. क्या इम्पैक्ट देने के लिए, जहां ICDS कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट था सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट से डिसीजन के लिए, उससे रिलेटेड पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन वहां पे डाल दिया. नाउ यू विल स्टडी दैट व्हाटएवर इज रिटन हियर, द सेम इज रिटन इन द ICDS. But why there is replica? Why there is duplication? Because section is giving power. Section is giving back to general provision of ICDS inserted through notifications. So how we will study? So these are 10 ICDS originally through notification in number. Yes, originally through notification number 87 2016, 29 September 2016. These 10 ICDS were inserted through notification. However, it was challenged in the matter of Chamber of Tax Consultant and High Court ruled in the favor of SSC. SSC के फेवर में रूल किया. उन्होंने बोला कि आप नोटिफिकेशन के थ्रू एक्ट के अगेंस्ट या सुप्रीम कोर्ट या हाई कोर्ट के डिसीजन के अगेंस्ट कुछ नहीं कर सकते. देन टू ओवररूल दैट हाई कोर्ट डिसीजन, गवर्नमेंट मेड अमेंडमेंट through Finance Act 2018, and the all amendment were retrospective 1 year back, from 1 year back, because government wanted to apply ICDS from assessment year 17-18. 17-18 असेसमेंट ईयर 17-18 से अगर आपको कुछ एप्लीकेबल करना है, तो अगर आप फाइनेंस एक्ट 2018 में लेकर आ रहे हैं तो आपको वो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव करना पड़ेगा. तो दैट दीज ऑल वर रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव अमेंडमेंट. तो हाउ वी विल स्टडी अब आईसीडीएस कैसे पढ़ेंगे? आईसीडीएस हम एक बार ये 3-4 जो सेक्शंस इंसर्ट किए हैं उसको स्टडी कर लेंगे. 3-4 सेक्शंस क्या है? जितना भी कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन है आपको 3-4 सेक्शन में पढ़ने को मिल जाएगा. बाकी तो फिर आपको आपके लिए थ्योरी रह जाएगी बस सब में. तो वी विल study in depth first these 3-4 section, then after that whatever will be relevant from the 1 to 10 ICDS, then we will study that. So first I am starting from section 43 CB. 43 CB उसी टॉपिक पे बात कर रहा है जो सर्विसेज का वी जस्ट डिस्कस, दैट सर्विस शुड बी टैक्सेबल एज पर परसेंटेज ऑफ कंप्लीशन मेथड. सो पहले ही ICDS 3 and 4 में लिख के इन्होंने इस बात को बताया था, बट when it didn't work, तो उन्होंने एक स्पेसिफिक सेक्शन उस पर बना दिया, सेक्शन 43 CB. नाउ इट इज द मैंडेट फॉर एवरीवन. नाउ इट इज मैंडेट फॉर एवरीवन कि अगर आप अपना BGBP की इनकम निकाल रहे हो, अगर आप अपना you are computing your profit, then you will compute your profit as per section 43 CB only. 43 CB will give you a method to calculate your service income, and you will apply that method only. आप अपना अकाउंट में कौन सा मेथड लगा रहे हैं दैट इज इररिलेवेंट, आपको इसी मेथड के अकॉर्डिंग करना पड़ेगा. सो व्हाट दिस 43 CB says, 43 CB says the profit and gains arising from a construction contract or a contract for providing services. So if you are preparing P&L account of any construction company, or you are preparing a P&L account of a company which is providing services, then shall be determined on the basis of percentage of completion method in accordance with the ICDS. So now in section itself says कि if you are contractor or if you are service provider, then your method of accounting can only be percentage of completion method and no other method is allowable. So आपके एग्जाम में दो तरह से आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछे जा सकते हैं. इट कैन बी आस्क्ड इन two type of question can be asked. One is that the examiner will give you adjustment in the PGBP question, that the SSC computed its service income as per the completion of contract method, project completion method. So is there any adjustment is required? So you will say that as per section 43 CB, the service income can only be computed by percentage of completion method. It means जितना जितना काम पूरा होता चले जाए अपना सर्विस सरेंडर करते चले जाओ. Project completion method is not allowable to you. However, in two following situation, you can apply project completion method or straight line method. What are those two situation? Contract for providing services with duration of not more than 90 days. अगर आपका 90 डेज से कम का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, 90 डेज से कम के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए स्टिल यू हैव को ऑप्शन कि आप परसेंट कंप्लीशन मेथड लगा लो या आप प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीशन मेथड लगा लो. कि जब आपका प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट हो जाए, जब आप सपोज आई एम गिविंग कोचिंग क्लासेस और कोचिंग क्लासेस में आई एम गिविंग सम क्रैश कोर्स, तो 90 डेज से कम का पीरियड है उसका. बट ये 90 डेज मेरा टू फाइनेंशियल में, बिकॉज मेरी क्लासेस स्टार्ट हो गई हैं मार्च 20 में, बट इट विल एंड इन बिटवीन ऑफ मे 20. So two financial year are clashing here. So now I have option, either I apply percentage completion method और प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीशन मेथड. या तो मैं पूरे के पूरे इनकम उठा के जब मेरा मई में बैच खत्म हो जाएगा तब मैं अपनी सरेंडर कर दूं, और मैं जितना मेरा मार्च 20 तक काम हो गया है, जितना मैंने क्लासेस ले ली है मार्च 20 तक, उतना इनकम मैं मार्च 20 तक दिखा दूं, और उसके बाद अप्रैल एंड मई में जितना मैंने क्लासेस ली है उतना मैं अप्रैल एंड मई में दिखा दूं. तो नाउ for 90 days service contract, I have option to apply either project completion method or percentage completion method. Other than that, I can't apply project completion method. As and when my work will be completed, that percentage I have to surrender, that particular amount, percentage of my contract revenue, I have to surrender as my income. Or in case of a contract for providing services involving indeterminate number of acts over a specific period of time. If it's contract of such type that there is many acts involved, there is indeterminate number of acts are involved, and nothing is clear that how to calculate completion, how to calculate the percentage of completion, then in that case, straight line method can be applied. How a straight line method can be applied? So I'll explain you through whiteboard. So what 43 inserted by FA 2018 with effect from assessment year with retrospective effect from 17-18. What it says that 43B says that whenever you compute your income, whenever you are computing your income for the assessment year 17-18, and you are service provider, or you are a contractor, then in that case only one method for computing income is available to you, that is percentage completion method. Percentage completion method. So अगर आपका total project is of 100 crore and you have completed 50% work in 17-18, then 100 crore का 50%, 50 crore rupees you will show as sale or service income of AY 17-18. However, if your contract is lesser than 90 days or indeterminate act is involved in your contract, then in that case sorry, two separate method is there. Then if it is lesser than 90 days, then any of option you can avail, either percentage completion method और प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीशन मेथड. जब भी आपका प्रोजेक्ट क्लासेस खत्म हो जाएं, कंप्लीशन मेथड, देन यू सरेंडर योर इनकम. However, एक्ट जब हो तो स्ट्रेट लाइन मेथड आप लगा लें, हर मंथ जितना स्ट्रेट, जितने मंथ आपका काम चल रहा है हर मंथ आप उतना उतना स्ट्रेट लाइन मेथड. So from assessment year 17-18, now any SSC on which ICDS is applicable can calculate its income which will be credited in P&L account in this manner only. No other account, no other accounting, no other method of recognizing revenue is allowed if ICDS is applicable on that particular SSC. And if ICDS is applicable to all except individual and HUF, it is applicable on individual HUF as well. Those individual HUF on which tax audit is applicable, and if you are following the cash system of accounting, then it is not applicable. So once ICDS is applicable, the income shall be computed. Service income or construction contract income shall be computed only in this manner. What is one more contradiction while recognizing your contract revenue? Earlier in accounting, retention money was not considered while calculating the contract revenue. Suppose your contract revenue is 100 crore and 50% work has been completed, so you need to surrender 50 crore. But out of 100 crore, if you say that my retention money is 10 crore, so earlier you can deduct that retention money from your contract value, that is 100 crore less 10 crore, only 50% of 90 crore you will surrender as your income. But after introduction of this section 43 CB, now contract revenue shall be inclusive of retention money. So if in question P&L अकाउंट आपको दिया हुआ है और उसमें उसने रिटेंशन मनी को हटा के अगर इनकम दिखाई है, देन to give the impact of ICDS, you have to include retention money first, and then you will apply percentage of completion method. The contract cost shall not be reduced by any incidental income in the nature of interest, dividend, or capital gains. What happened in the accounts? In the accounts, whenever you have some surplus fund and your contract is going on, and on surplus fund you earn some interest income, or you invested money in shares, then you earn some dividend income, you can deduct that particular incidental income from cost of your revenue. But after introduction of this section, after to give impact of ICDS, now contract cost shall not be reduced by the incidental income of interest, dividend, and capital gain. Interest, dividend, and capital gain will be taxable separately as per Income Tax Act. For this also we will study one ICDS, and it shall not be reduced from the contract cost. So basically, how many changes happened after the ICDS? Two changes are here. First of all, you can calculate your service income or contract income only as per the completion method, and two exception of this completion method, that if either your contract is lesser than 90 days or it has indeterminate number of acts, then you can apply at method given for the respective work. And whenever you compute contract revenue, it shall include your retention money, and from the contract cost also you will not reduce interest, dividend, and capital gain. होप आप सबको क्लियर है अभी कैसे कैलकुलेट करना है आपको रेवेन्यू अपना? So like this we will study these three sections first in the next class, और उसके बाद फिर एक दो चेंजेस रह जाएंगे जो इंपॉर्टेंट होंगे, दैट I'll explain you उस पर्टिकुलर पेज पे ले जाके आपको कि ये है. तो बेसिकली आपको जो ICDS का जो आपको इम्पैक्ट देना है वो, अगर आपको ये पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन 43 CB, 36(1), 43 AA and this particular section 145A. So if these are clear to you, and ये जो clarification government से पूछी गई थी, ये 20 to 25 clarification you have studied, so this all is sufficient for the exam purpose. so far as ICDS is concerned. ICDS को कंप्लीट करना है तो ये 3-4 सेक्शंस और जितनी भी क्लैरिफिकेशन जो गवर्नमेंट से पूछी गई थी देन गवर्नमेंट ने आंसर किया था, दिस वी विल स्टडी इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. सो अभी तक का किसी का क्वेरी है तो हम ले सकते हैं. नोट आई विल शेयर आफ्टर द क्लास जो आंसर.
ओके सर.
ठीक है, ओके. थैंक यू वेरी मच टू ऑल.
थैंक यू.